question. I just don't know how to word this.
All right. Well, let me put the paper up. So tell us what you're wanting to talk about. What you thinking about?
Well, I'm thinking about doing postpartum depression.
Oh, somebody else just told me that one.
Yeah, I had a good friend who passed away from postpartum depression a few years ago. It just spiraled out of control. And anyway,
Sorry about that.
So are you looking for what's better for treatment or something?
Was it what?
What are you looking for? What are you looking for? What's a better treatment?
Kind of. I don't know.
It's okay.
I just don't know about educating women and like their significant others of the signs and symptoms before they leave the hospital or by.
So usually that is supposed to be done in the hospital, but I mean that's a good avenue to look at, education. Another interesting avenue could be different therapies for it, because there are kind of different schools of thought with cognitive behavioral therapy versus medication, or a combination. So you could kind of look into that. That's a tricky one. Postpartum depression. It's hard to treat. And it sounds like what you're looking at more with your friend is like full-blown postpartum psychosis.
Yeah, she did. She went into psychosis at that point.
But if we had caught it earlier.
Yeah.
So are you looking to think instead of treatment, would education in the hospital,
or like a screening, maybe a screening in the hospital?
I don't know if they're going to be able to check it that early.
I don't know if they'd be able to check it. Yeah. This was her fifth child, and she didn't have it with any of the other ones, so she didn't really understand what was going on. She just thought she had, the baby blues or whatever, but by the time that they realized it was just too late.
Yeah, because those only last like 2 weeks usually, if it's beyond that.
Yes.
So they would have to be like the postpartum visit if it was going to be a screening, I suppose.
Okay, so would education in the hospital, so we give them a heads up in the hospital on postpartum depression, be more effective than education at a postpartum visit, right? Doctor visit?
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Yeah, because then you're 6 weeks out.
Yeah.
Postpartum depression earlier or for identifying it, right? So we can get treatment.
Yeah.
So there's our question. Would education in the hospital on postpartum depression be more effective than education at a postpartum doctor visit for identifying postpartum depression? Okay. So P would be the mom postpartum, right?
Yeah.
The woman postpartum.
Yeah,
our intervention is going to be education on postpartum depression in the hospital, and our comparison would be education on postpartum depression at a postpartum doctor visit.
Doctor's appointment, yeah.
All right, and then our outcome would be more effective and timely identification of postpartum depression. And Cardi, what do you think about a time? We're looking at like 90 days postpartum for observing this?
Yeah, so the only concern I have is you wouldn't really be able to identify and diagnose depression in the hospital because it's a little early, if that makes sense.
But we're not identifying it in the hospital. What we're saying is if we educate the people before they go home, and the woman...
So they know what to look for.
So we're saying like women will kind of self-identify and seek treatment?
Correct.
Yeah.
Before wait for a postpartum doctor visit.
Okay, love it. I'm with you. Timing, I would say, probably 3 to 4 months postpartum.
Okay, so
that's probably a good
90 days.
Yeah.
Okay. How's that look for you, Jen?
I like it.
All right, so copy that, paste it, snip it, whatever you need to do, so you got something now for your discussion post, and you're ready to start your assignment.
Quick, take a picture.
Longer.
Lois, this is Ian. Are we going to record this?
I can't hear you.
Yeah, this is Ian. Record this?
Okay. Yeah, you're breaking up on us, Ann. We can't.
Just wondering about recording it.
It's recording right now.
Oh, okay, good.
Are you having trouble with your speaker, Ann? Do you think you might need to call in on the phone?
I think my headphones, maybe that'll.
Okay, it's breaking up big time. I think she's fixing her headset. I will.
Jen, I think you'll find a lot of interesting literature about that PICO question too. I think you'll find a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, I hope so.
So, are we done with this? Can I clear it or?
Yeah.
Got it already?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Thank you.
So everybody's showing up. We got Ann here, Carly here, I'm here. I don't think that Amelia's going to be able to make it with that horrible storm out there. She was without lights for a while and no energy.
She had no power, so her phone was dying. So last I heard, she was still without power, and the electric company was working on it. But
Okay.
she probably needed
Live.
She's in Michigan. They're having ice storm.
Ice storm.
Nice.
Oh.
Nice.
All right. So what this is a question and answer time. So I can move this out of the way. We just had it here in case we wanted to work on a question together or anything. But we've got the faculty here, so you just ask us the questions, and we'll all work together and try to, help everybody get ready for the assignment. We're not going to go over the whole assignment because Ann already did that in a video, and that's in the announcements, so everybody can get to that. So anybody have a question for the group?
I don't know.
And remember, you've got yourselves on mute, so unmute if you're asking us your question.
Can you hear me, Lois?
Yeah, now we can, Ann.
Okay, I'm on.
Oh, yeah, it was like, hello. We could. All right, does everybody have their clinical question in PICO 2 ready to go, or does somebody have a question about that? All right, how about this part down here about the model? That one always trips everybody up, and they try to turn in PICO T instead of a model for incorporating evidence into practice. So they give you some examples, the A-star model, the Stettler model, the Iowa model, the 5 A's. There's lots of them. But when you do your slide on the model to incorporating evidence into their practice, don't give us the PICO T, because the PICO T is just how you set up a research question so that you can go and search your terms. That's not a model. Does everybody pick a model?
No.
Whoa, pick one.
And they're in the lecture. There's examples in the lecture. So go to your lecture and look at the different ones.
And then just go to the literature and find scholarly literature on them. Where are they? Down at the bottom, Ann?
Yeah, towards the bottom, I believe. Yes, there they are.
There's the ACE one.
And then right above is the list of different ones and
Iowa model, the 5 A's.
the Stettler one is up above the
are we
Iowa.
making up our own model, or just like choosing one of these and like?
Choosing one of those. You don't make up your own model.
Okay, that's what I'm like. Whoa, okay.
That is No, pick one of these, but we want to make sure you understand that these models are out there for us to use as nurses. Okay, so if you're in a facility and you might be the the charge nurse and you want to make sure that they're using evidence-based practice and somebody brings something to your attention that's evidence-based practice, is there a model that you can use to incorporate that evidence into practice? So you should know about these models. So look up one of them, get yourself some, scholarly literature, and then talk about it on a slide. And we just gave you some examples here. There's other ones out there, but you're welcome to use any one of these.
Okay.
Okay? But just remember, it's not the PICO-T. These are different.
So just talk about how we would use one of these models to incorporate our question.
You don't even have to do that. This is very simple here. Let's go back to the actual question. All it was, I believe, was to identify it, wasn't it? Tell us a little bit about it.
Oh man, I always make everything way more complicated than it needs to be.
Okay, let's find it. Down here somewhere, isn't it? Here. Describe one of the models developed, it's already developed, to incorporate nursing practice. So just describe one of them.
Oh, okay.
Cite it and give us a reference in the reference slide. And I mean, if you want to put a picture in, you could do that, make your slide look nice, or definitely put the name of it on there.
Okay. See, I was thinking we had to make up a model and then describe. So okay.
I think
that's a lot more
program.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right. There was another thing up here from the lecture that also always throws everybody off, and it was the audit trail. Isn't Andy and Carly?
Yeah, it's in the lecture.
In the lecture.
Yeah.
We need to hear about that. Make a slide about that. Audit trail. Where are you?
Just about all the different things we looked up and how much.
Yeah. So
our results and stuff. Okay.
Right. You've got your PICO-T set up, right? So if you're like the one we just were looking at, let me find it. All right. So here we're looking at our PICO-T. If this was yours, and you're going to go to the library and you're going to search, you're going to look for postpartum and education, maybe, or postpartum education in hospital, or postpartum education, doctor visit or something. You're going to have these terms, right? So that's part of your audit trail. What terms did you use? What Boolean operators did you hook them to? And you could just simply say, I looked up postpartum and hospital education or doctor visit education, whatever you looked up. And where did you look that up? Did you look that up in LARN, Ovid? What database did you look it up in? And then had to change it, right? Because maybe you didn't get what you wanted, so you had to refine it. Or your search brought you new terms that helped you refine it. So just tell us about that. That's your trail to how you got your evidence.
Okay.
Okay? And so now let's go back to the assignment and make sure that's all we need. I should have two slides up, right? Make it easier. Assignment. All right, so where's the audit trail? There it is. Literature search and audit trail include what databases you used and the terms and what Boolean operators were used.
Okay.
Okay, so you'll have a slide about that.
Okay, yeah, so that will just be one side, the other one will be okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That way you know you've covered everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Anne or Carly, anything else that students seem to have some difficulties with on this?
No, I find the model is the most common one that kind of trips people up. And then, like you said, the audit trail. So just kind of make note of what you're searching for so that you can just quickly add that to a slide. And make sure all of these are separate slides. Sometimes I see people try to condense them into one.
Yes, the audit trail should be a separate slide and not put with your references. That was something that some people would just put it on the reference page, kind of, and so it needs to be separate because you're talking about it. It's just, and then have your reference slide be just your references.
Yeah.
Okay.
You need 5 to 7 slides, and you're going to have plenty of things to put on these.
Okay.
Okay, what about speaker notes? Is anybody confused with what you're going to put on the slide is like bullet points or pictures or specific things, but in your speaker notes is where you're going to put all that you would be saying if you were giving us a lecture about it.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Let me find a PowerPoint presentation.
And in the speaker notes is where you can include your in-text citations for the information that you would be giving.
Okay.
Right. I'm trying to find an actual, because
So we don't have to include the in-text citations on the actual slides?
You don't
Just
have
do
to. You can do it
Okay.
in speaker notes.
Okay.
Wait, I wish I had a nice long PowerPoint presentation I could show them. Week 5 discussion. These are the ones that you guys all turned in.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a long presentation. I'll just bring up the PowerPoint present, All right, so here's just a PowerPoint slide, and of course you're going to add more slides. You're going to have several slides down here. And then, so here's the slide, and here's some bullet points. But then down here is where you talk about it. I am going to talk about QSEN, which means blah, 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 blah. And then I might have my, whatever my citation in here, wherever the stuff came from. And so this is where the body of it is.
Okay.
Don't make these overwhelming. Put a lot of your information down here. Then the same thing with your next slide. You may have here, this is the ACE star model. And you're going to say something about the ACE star model. Well, you would type better than me. And then down here, you will say the ACE star model. And blah, 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 tell all about it. And then you're going to have your citation. And then you're going to have 2018, Dachshund, 2018, 19. And then all your references are on a separate slide, and this is your references. And so then you'll have your list of references here in alphabetical order, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so since we have the faculty with us, let me tell you, trying to put a hanging indent on a slide sometimes doesn't work right. So how about we not panic over hanging indent on a slide, but definitely the rest of the format is correct.
Sounds good.
In the
Sounds
note,
good.
do it.
You actually would have your references on the slide itself.
Okay. Okay, but don't panic if we can't get the hanging in it. Okay.
Yeah, because sometimes I'm telling you, I fight with it myself. But
Are we gonna have speaker note like for this references page? Do we have speaker notes for that also?
no.
Do right? Okay. Okay.
No, this one will just be a
And if the
title would go up here.
I find sometimes if the information is pretty basic, like this was my sometimes the audit trail, it's like these are the terms I used. So you don't always have to have extensive speaker notes. Just if there's more, and some of the slides will require more extensive speaker notes.
Okay. Okay.
Whatever. Anyway, it'd be blah, 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 blah. Now, we all know, right, that if there was 2 authors here, if there was Dachshund Red and some kind of a mangy cat, and their last name went L, let's say. So there's 2 names, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if the cat was actually showed up first in this, and the dachshund was like the secondary author.
You leave it because they added more to it, right?
That's right. The cat added more to this paper and is lead author than the dachshund.
Yeah.
And if you swap them just to alphabetize, you're going to upset the cat and you'll get scratched. So we don't do that. All right, so you don't have to have speaker notes. And like Carly said, not every slide might have a lot of speaker notes. But what you don't want to do is put, have you ever seen a teacher, and I'm sure it wasn't us, that put so much on the slide you couldn't read it fast enough, and you were reading so much you didn't hear what they said.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we don't want to do that. So we're practicing here because as a nurse or even as a nursing student, you may be doing presentations. So here's where we're working on them.
Okay.
Any questions, anybody? Anything you're concerned about, want to know about? Don't forget to unmute.
Don't be shy. No such thing as a stupid question.
That's true. Has everybody been in and posted their PCOT and their clinical question in the discussion?
Dr. Hine?
Yes.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just sent you an email. I have been seriously stressing about this because I don't have any experience in the medical field or nursing or CNA or anything.
Okay. That's all right.
And so I just don't know what question. I have a couple of questions that I'm thinking of, but I'm I don't know how I can relate it to a nurse.
That's okay. We're going to look at that right now with you. We're here to help you. And we're all going to work together, all the students here and the faculty. So tell us something you're interested in knowing about.
So one thing I was thinking about was, are patients overprescribed? But nurses don't prescribe.
Right, and not only that, for this assignment, you want something that you can compare something to. So in other words, will this happen if you do this or that?
Okay.
So you could, if you're concerned about overprescription maybe of opioids, that's a big problem right now, right?
Okay, yeah.
Maybe you have a question, is physical therapy, or maybe have you heard of putting hot and cold compresses? Is hot and cold compresses as effective as opioid medication for back pain?
Okay.
So you're trying to not get a bunch of prescriptions. Can we do something else? How about
I wonder
acupuncture?
if you could phrase it just non-pharmacologic pain intervention versus opioids.
That's
okay.
Because have you ever seen that? Who was he? A chiropractor on TV that does laser therapy, and he's the best guy in the world because I don't have to take pain meds. So, and my dogs have had laser therapy because I didn't want them on Toradol, and it's a world of good. So, let's see. Are non-pharmacological therapy as effective as how do you spell opioid? Medication.
OPIOID.
Okay, for relieving pain. How about that?
Okay.
All right, so who do we have? We have patients with pain, right?
Yeah.
What's the intervention?
Non-pharmacological therapy.
So what are we looking at? Acupuncture, physical...
Shock therapy or...
What kind of therapy?
Shock therapy?
We don't really do shock therapy for pain.
Oh, see, I have no idea.
That's okay. And you know what? You can look up non-pharmacological therapies as one of your terms and then see what comes up, okay?
Okay.
There is the TENS unit.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, a TENS unit.
Yeah, people use that in labor really frequently with a lot of success.
Okay, so it's those mild. I thought you were talking about full-blown shock therapy. Okay, mild TENS unit. That's good. Okay. or laser therapy. You'll come up with other ones. That's good. Okay, I thought we were back in psycho times. Our comparison is opioid, right?
Yeah.
And so this is going to be more effective pain control or relief, whatever you want to put in here. Now, how long do you want to be testing these people for? Until their pain is under control, or until they are pain free. So maybe they got well or the injury healed or whatever. Okay, how's that work?
Okay, that makes more sense.
Okay, so take a picture.
Yeah.
So you can use it, put it in your discussion post, and now you've got your slide ready for your clinical question and your PCOT.
Okay. Thank you for your help.
Well, thank you, and thank you, Carly, for telling us about the TENS unit, because here I'm thinking she's talking shock therapy.
That conjures up like the old school when they were trying to treat mental illness with shock therapy. Right?
It was a long time ago when I went to school, and I actually did a stint out here at Blackfoot, Idaho, at the old mental health unit.
Blackfoot South.
Blackfoot South. That's where I was.
Oh yeah! Wow, I grew up near there. I remember.
Okay. Anybody else? Good question.
For the discussion post, we have to have a scholarly reference, right?
Okay, that's true, but you don't need it for your first one. For your initial post tonight, all you need is talk about this and share this with us.
Oh, okay.
Your response, you're going to come back. So once you've got this all set up and your faculty member responds and says, okay, that's great, you're all set. Or maybe we need to change this. How about doing this? Once you've got your question and your PCOT set, go get some literature. Keep track of it. You're going to need that audit trail later. And then come back, and one of your responses will simply be, class, I found this about my clinical question, or this is what I found. Then you're going to cite and reference. And then you've already got one response. You only need one more.
Okay. But the response doesn't have to be done by tonight. That's just by Sunday also?
Correct.
Okay.
And we'll see. We're going to look at everything, and we'll see that you've got a citation and reference in your response. And if you don't, then we didn't bring in scholarly literature this week.
Okay.
So we don't need to have any reference or citation for this discussion that's due tonight.
That's correct, because you wouldn't. All you're going to show us is your clinical question and your PCOT, and then your teacher needs to get back to you and let you know if it's okay to research or not. So then you could take off and go look up your research.
Okay, that's
perfect. Thank you.
Then don't forget to keep track. Pain and pharmacological or opioid, things like that.
Okay.
And Carly, you'll get with Amelia when she has power again and let her know about. They don't have to have that tonight. The reference and citation. I think it says it right in the question. They're going to come back, and one of their responses is going to have the scholarly literature.
Yes, and I've just kind of been writing that in responses to students, and I'll make sure Amelia knows as well.
Okay, great. And all students know that we're talking scholarly literature, not a blog, not Wikipedia, not some .com thing. Look at
no news articles.
Yeah. LIRN and Ovid and all those, get into those.
If I'm doing mine on postpartum depression, so there's a website, psiutah.org, and it's a doctor who has a foundation for postpartum depression and things. She has like a clinic in different IHC hospitals and stuff. Is that a scholarly source?
It could be. You're going to have to analyze it when you're in there. But our list, remember that list we had of scholarly sources?
Yeah, I have that printed out.
Medical or nursing organizations And you
Okay.
said it was a .org, so that's an organization.
Okay.
Now that you know how to analyze for scholarly, you can do a quick look over.
Okay.
You're not seeing a lot of advertisements for medications that they might be prescribing. You know, there's not much bias there. Look for the things that you just learned about. And then if you feel it's scholarly, go for it. The medical organization.
Okay. Good to know. Perfect.
Any more questions? Anybody?
That's all I had. I appreciate you guys doing this. It really helps alleviate a lot of anxiety.
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I was interested in vaccinations, and I was wondering how I could incorporate that into a question.
All right. So what do you want to know about vaccinations?
Just the benefits of having them as a kid versus not having them.
Okay.
I don't know if that would work or not.
So are receiving childhood immunizations better, or having somebody help with the wording here. We're going to do this.
Does the benefit of receiving childhood vaccinations outweigh the risk?
Does the benefit of receiving? Well, we can't.
But that doesn't give you two.
Yeah, it doesn't give you a PICO.
Does the benefit? Oh, here we go. Is it more beneficial to receive childhood immunizations than not immunizing against what kind of disease would it be? Is it more beneficial to receive childhood immunizations than not immunizing against?
It seems like MMR is often the one that people choose not to give. So you could say specifically MMR if you had to pick one.
And rubella?
Yeah, that one's commonly not given, I think.
Is it more beneficial to receive childhood immunizations than not immunize against these? So in other words, we're looking to see that they're not going to get sick, right? For illness. Immunizing to prevent measles, mumps, and rubella. Because some people might say, I'm not going to give these immunizations. I'm going to rely on the herd effect. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are we looking here? We're looking at children through school age.
Yeah.
Children up through school age. And we're looking at, so they're going to receive the MMR vaccine as a child. Oh, I wish this would spell right. Or not receive more effective in preventing measles, mumps, and somebody better figure out how to spell rubella for me.
Oh, that's how you spell that.
Is it? Okay, because it keeps underlining in blue.
I think because it's not capitalized, maybe? I don't know.
Oh, you might be onto something there. There we go. Okay, so how long are you going to be watching these kids?
No, I guess not.
Till they turn 18?
Yeah.
Or, actually it could happen later, right? But you want to just do it until they're 18?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. How's that look?
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, take a picture.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And you can change the age if you want to or whatever. But at least it's giving you a start. You can hit the literature.
Right. Awesome.
Anyone else?
Lots of good literature out there about vaccines. I think you'll find good stuff.
Mm-hmm. You can even swing it the other way and say, is the rate of, they're always worried about autism, the rate of autism greater if you vaccinate or not vaccinate? So then you could have school-age children, you could have, or any, children, period, up through school age. You could say vaccinated against or received childhood immunizations, didn't receive childhood immunizations, and you could look at rate of autism.
Right, that's awesome.
Anne, you have anything for us?
No, I have a couple students that can't get into the conference, and a couple students that have joined the conference, but so I've been texting and emailing people. I think that covers it all. Just everyone should really look, at the first column in the rubric. That shows you what we want to see in your power in the slide or in your speaker notes. You want to, like the first one, describe the area of interest. So why are you interested in the vaccines or in the postpartum depression? And then state your question. Be sure you have the question in a question form, and then be sure to put it in the PCOT form. So you see there's 3 bullet points. We want to see that somewhere in your slide or in your speaker notes so that we can give you all your points that way. So that first column's very important in the rubric because it's basically restating what's in the instructions.
So on the slide, if we can't fit all that, say we could fit like the clinical question and maybe the PICO. In the speaker notes, we could describe why we chose that area, and that would count because it would all be there still?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Okay, as long as it's somewhere in that slide. Okay.
Right, with the slide that, if you have like the main points on the slide, because you don't want to overcrowd your slide, and then you just drop down to the speaker notes in that slide, and then make sure you cover all that, and it's all right there. Perfect.
Okay, good.
Putting that clinical question followed by the PCOT, sort of just how these are right here, that would be so nice because we can, boom, there it is, and then we'll look in those speaker notes and you'll be telling us why you chose this and blah, 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 go right in there.
Okay.
And for this one, you might not have scholarly literature because you're just getting started.
Okay.
Then we got your audit trail. Present recommendations. Should a change be made? Where's the one about the evidence? What's the evidence one? Oh, briefly describe your findings. I don't know how that got down there. So this is where you've got your terms and everything. You go look at the library. Share with us a couple of the articles you found. So what was in your findings? What did you find out about your question? And then should a recommendation, should it be changed? Should we be doing one or the other?
Okay.
So you see in that one about briefly describe the findings, you're going to just give a summary of what you found in your scholarly literature, and you'll cite it, and then the reference will be on the reference slide. And some of this is going to be in your speaker notes, but you want to be sure that you describe the impact to patient care and or nursing practice. So, how will that impact patient care that you do, the research showed to do this but not that.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Do you have to have like a citation on each side, or is it just as long as you've got at least 2 in there somewhere?
You don't even have to put them on the slide itself. You can have them in the speaker notes.
Okay.
Because, you definitely are going to have one when you're talking about the model. You're going to have one for this model, right? So you talk about your model, and then in your speaker notes you'll have a citation, and then you'll definitely have it up here when you're describing your findings. You'll share like an article. I read blah blah blah, and then you're going to have your citation. Don't need any quotes. I'd rather you read the literature and tell us in your own words what it meant to you, and then you'll probably have a citation up here for this findings. In fact, I'm sure of it. And you'll have one here. And how many do you need?
You need at least 2, right?
2?
Correct.
There they are, at least 2. So those are 2 already. But if you found 2 amazing articles, you might want to talk about both of them up here. Plus you'll have the A-star model, and that's fine. You'll have 3 then.
That was one thing I don't quite understand is like the A-star model stuff. Like I was really confused on those.
Okay.
And Elna, we did talk just a little bit about it before, but we'll restate it. Those models are different from the PICO-T question. So you have a question that you're interested in, and you're trying to put it in a format so that you can research it. That's what the PICO-T is all about. But down in our lecture, we give you these different models, and we want you just to have a slide where you're going to choose. You could choose any of these that are in the lecture, or you could find another one that's in the literature. It's up to you. Perfectly fine to use any of these in the literature, and you're going to just describe it a little bit. You aren't going to. It's not going to affect your PICO-T question. You're just showing that you know that there are frameworks and models that nurses use when they do research. We just want you to describe it a bit.
Okay.
So it'll be a separate slide, but it's not the same as the PICO-T. The PICO-T is just a format for putting your question of interest in a format so that's easy to understand what you're researching.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so your slide might say the University of North Carolina model of 5 A's, and then in your notes, speaker notes, you'll talk about it. Share with us what you found. Look up an article about that, and then talk to us about it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and end our question and answer time, but that doesn't end your ability, of course, to post in the questions to the instructor, or text us or shoot us an email. This weekend, if you're working on it, you probably wouldn't get to the question and answer, so that would probably require an email or a text so that we're aware that you have a question, because we don't want you getting stumped over the weekend. Okay. All right. And any parting words, Carly?
I think that's good. Just be sure to reach out to us so that otherwise we don't know you're stumped.
We're happy to help. Earlier rather than later is best. I don't recommend starting this Sunday, because if you do get stumped, it makes it a little bit harder to get everything squared away. But please reach out. I'm always there if you need help.
And then it is your responsibility to make sure that you're turning this in and that it's actually in there in a format that we can open. Because when we go to grade it, if it's not, then sometimes it's a little late for you to try to fix things and get it back to us. So make sure that it goes in okay. If you think it's not, text us, let us know. Send us an email, we'll check it. All right. I'm going to turn off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, thanks, everybody.
I'll send out the link to you and Ann and Carly.
Okay, great.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. See ya.